a bridge can be created. Labels can be dropped. And there's more to be gained from trying to reach out to everyone than there is from assuming I know ahead of time what you must be thinking. And so from that, I started to think, maybe there's an exit to this box. Maybe there is a way I can leave all that is on top of me and become who I am. And then this thought occurred to me. The person that in my family, some cousins, would prefer to protect, lived 200 years ago. And he risked everything in order to create something that had never existed before. Thomas Jefferson and all of the people with him wanted to create a democracy that frankly no one had ever seen. And he did it in an age where there was no technology. He did it when there was no way to go from door to door across the country and say, here's my idea, what do you think? He had to assume somehow it would work out. He had to go from day to day with only what he could do that day and hope it was enough. He also knew that if it ended, it would probably end with a taking of his life. He risked everything he had. He spent most of his time away from home. He spent what he could have been doing, which he loved to do, his gardens, his reading. Instead, he went after this idea. So it struck me as absurd that here we are 200 years later, and instead of opening our arms to whatever idea somebody had, we were saying, well, I'm not sure. And the refrain I got most often was, do you want to hurt the family? Do you know what this will do? And so when I said, you know, what I'd really like to be is a writer, nobody was very happy. Because they knew that I had the habit of saying what I was thinking. And so giving me a place to say it was kind of tricky. They even paid for career counseling at the University of Richmond Women's Resource Center, hoping it would suggest something else. After 3 days of testing, it came back and said I would make a great preacher or a writer. They didn't even try to hide their disappointment. And my brother, who I love very much, looked at me and said, didn't it say anything else? And it was the most courageous thing that I could do for myself, was to just write. And I started to understand that for all of us, what is the hardest thing to do is often what is in our hearts. And all that is truly getting in our way is our own belief that we can do it. And it is because we try to answer ahead of time, will this work? That is not a question that can ever be answered. But every good idea that we now rely on started from one step. It started from one idea. And that person had no idea if it could work. And you look at things you rely on now, we take it for granted. I have people who say to me, how did you get syndicated? One column at a time. I didn't start knowing I would be syndicated. I just held it in my heart and hoped so. But I was happy with what I could do today. And I was willing to break it down to what I could do today. So today we live in a very heady times because we have two presidential candidates, one of whom is African American. That is great because what it will say to everybody out there, and not just the children, is the dream you hold in your heart, it actually has possibilities. It does not matter if no one agrees with you. It does not matter if it has never been seen before. It does not matter if you don't know what the step is beyond the one you're going to do today. If it is in your heart, it is there for a reason. Take that step, because you will not know what it is building, just as Jefferson and Washington had no idea it would come to this. To this day, when we have these two candidates, when they started on one day, they didn't get together fully formed. They started out wondering, how are we going to do this? They had an idea, and that is all that we need to do for ourselves. When you look at those two candidates, what it should say to you is this idea I've been carrying around that I've been terrified of doing, this job that I want to leave, this relationship I'd like to start, if only I could tell the truth, this is your chance. This is your chance to say, here I am, and I am enough. When those labels were placed on me as a child, what I was wondering was, am I enough without this name? Am I enough? If I leave this name behind, will I be okay?